This
is
conference will
not to
now
get
be
you to vote on
recorded.
the budget. Rather, it's to provide you with the information needed to make an objective decision in reference to this budget, which we've tried to put together in a way that is very easy to understand. However, in saying that, the budget contains a detailed analysis of both revenue and expenditures. Okay. Our current recommendation provides a balanced budget that shows total budgeted expenditures not to exceed total revenues, and we're not requesting a tax increase. So this budget shows the general fund for 22-23 at $9,404,225. That's the revenue and expenditures. Total general fund for this budget for revenue expenditures is $14,239,725. And the total town budget is $50,990,670. In addition, general auditing practices require the general fund has a reserve of 2 months operation budget for operating budget expenditures each year. The town of Surfside Beach has a balance of 4 months in operation budgets as of April 18, 2022. Excuse me. The millage rate, which is a ratio of the dollar to each $1,000 of property value, is for this budget 43 mills. Each mill equals approximately $79,900, and the 43 mills is the exact same millage rate that we had last year. Currently, we have the following financial obligations for the town of Surfside Beach. We have a $4 million bond with an interest rate of 2.18%. April 1st, 2021, we paid $20,346.67 in interest. On October 1st, 2021 and April 1st, 2022, we spent $43,600 in interest. Our first principal payment will be October 1st, 2022, which will be $247,000. Long-term financial planning. The town of Surfside Beach established a formal financial policy in fiscal year 2015 to identify funds for specific purposes in the general fund and to set specific goals for other funds maintained by the town. These reserves are disaster recovery reserve, capital replacement reserve, land meters and parking reserve, and unassigned general fund reserves. Changes to the fund balance were made in 2017 and 19, which added beach nourishment funding mandate and repair fund. Major items that affect our budget. The main goal of the town currently is to finish the Perry construction. We are in the home stretch of the project, as the mayor says. With approximately 6 to 8 months to go, we've hired a construction analyst to aid us with issues, as the request for a project manager was turned down by the last council. The construction analyst is necessary to address requests for change orders in reference to plans, updates, value engineering, lost time due to not having a project manager. With any budget, personnel remains the largest expenditures. This budget is no exception. We have included 5.5 additional positions. One guy's not sure. Okay. These positions will be 4 firefighters, a facilities laborer, and a part-time events assistant. The cost of the additional firefighters will be offset by a SAFER grant with the approval of the council. Excuse me. Retirement costs continue to rise. The employer contribution rate for the South Carolina retirement system and the police officers retirement system increased by an additional 1% to 17.56% and 20.24% respectively. The employee rates will continue to increase annually by 1% through July 2024. The ultimate scheduled employee rate is 18.56% for the South Carolina and 21.24% for the police. The employee contribution rates for South Carolina is capped at 9%, and the employee contribution rate for the police is capped at 9.75%. Health insurance premiums continue to climb. The increase to this budget is 6%. Employee contributions have increased slightly. The budget includes a 3% cost of living increase to employee wages. Fuel prices have been budgeted at an increase of $56,885 or 59% over last year for the general fund. Our sanitation fuel budget has increased by 57% or $40,770. As for town facilities, this budget allocates $700,000 of the American Rescue Plan funds towards town buildings and $1.5 million from the hospitality tax funds towards a police building. I propose a review of the budget in January 2023 because for the last couple of years, we've been surprised about how much has come in based on what has been going on around the world or around the nation. In reference to personnel and facilities to identify both the needs of the departments and the ability of the town to pay for them. Issues that must be addressed in the upcoming years is economic development, the waterfront area, Business 17, Surfside Drive, parking, and ordinances. What this slide is, it shows is the proposed consolidated budget for 22-23. Revenues are what we're expecting for the upcoming year. This is not an exact science, I'm sorry to say. It would be a total of $15,990,670. This includes the government operations budget, enterprise operation budget, and total operations budget. And slide 3 is your proposed consolidated budget expenditures. And this is what we're expecting to spend in the upcoming year. This is a total of $17,503,120. And again, this includes government operating budget, enterprise operating budget, and total operations budget. And then we also have intergovernmental transfers that go to this of $1,512,450, which gives us a grand total of $15,990,670. Okay, make sure I don't mess that up. So I am on slide 4. Okay, this slide shows you your general fund revenue, and it just shows the increase that we've had in the 1920 budget. We had actual $7,800,000. In the 2021 budget, we had $7,629,000. In the 21-22 budget, we had $8,335,000. And in the current budget, we're requested $9,414,225. Slide 5, okay. This slide
That's a 12% increase? About a 12% increase?
Help me with the close, yes, sir. What's happening with my slides there? Excuse me 1 second, I'm not sure what happened there, but I will find it. There we go. got behind.
Number 5.
Hmm?
That's number 5 in their book.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at, number 5. There you go. Thank you. I'm not sure what happened there, but this is, what this slide does is it takes those numbers and it shows you where our biggest sources of revenue are. One would be property taxes. Number 2 would be licenses and permits. The third one would be intergovernmental revenues, other financial sources, and franchise fees. And let's see, and then what we did with that is we broke down our property taxes. We wanted you to see that the major source of funds from property taxes come from non-residential commercial funds or real estate taxes. And that's about $2,585,000. And then the next, which would be $623,000, comes from residential real estate taxes. There we go. I think we're back on par here. And then major factors affecting the general fund budget. Our expenditures would be salaries and benefits, increases in the South Carolina retirement, fuel increases, capital expenditures for buildings and building maintenances. But I want to make something pretty clear here that D is years of neglect. That's not this council. Probably not the last council. It's many councils ago that, and managers ago, I gotta say, that they just didn't do what they should have done. And so I don't want anyone who's listening to this to think that this is something that has been created because y'all didn't do something. Y'all got stuck with the problem. Yeah, the numbers don't worry about this. This is actually slide 7 on your report. And this would be slide 8. And what this basically does is slide 8, even though it's 12 up there, it's slide 8 on your report, is this breaks down the expenditures by department. And the important thing about that would be the 914,225 in totals, not just the number. But it shows you what we're spending, where it gives you basically a 4-year history up to including this budget. Get out, excuse me, I'm gonna get out of this being in the right lane. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. I'm just gonna follow with the presentation I gave you because for some reason the PowerPoint that's showing up is not coinciding with the information I gave you. So I apologize for that, but I don't want to confuse everybody. So basically, slide 9 that you have, what it does is it puts the last set of slide numbers in. It's easier for you to read and understand what's happened with the finances. And then slide 10 is another graph. And what it does is it shows the percentage of general fund expenditures by department. Again, police would be your highest with 28%. And then what it shows is it shows fire at 14%. But then you got to remember, if you look at public works, that's 3 departments. So they're kind of at 19%, but they're divided out. And then slide 11 is where we jump into departmental requests. So it's slide 12, we're talking about personnel requests. We have had 4 firefighters that requested at $265,000. And this is with a SAFER grant. But again, it's once we get it in, we got to get approval from the council. The police requested a training individual. It was like $78,000, and we recommended deferring that until January 2023, and we'll relook at it. Our events requested a full-time person, and based on finances and budgets, we're going with a part-time person to help out for a cost of $26,000. And then facilities, based on all the work going on now and all the work that's going to be going on for the next couple of years, they requested a person, and we'll recommend that we do that. In reference to the general fund, we had some capital requests. We had a bucket truck and the Huckabee building that we're going to defer until 2023 to see if we've got the funds, and that also gives us a chance to get the plans ready for that building and the rest of the buildings. Our hospitality funds, restrooms, and the police vehicle, and we'll defer them until 2023. General government, which is slide 13. General government talks about administration, courts, finance, facilities, building, events. Again, they're requesting half a person, additional full-time for facilities. Operations increase would be about $172,000. And the capital would be a truck for facilities, and the building, which is the council chambers building for, we have $700,000 there, but that's also a roof too, but not for the capital police. Slide 14 is public safety, police, fire department. Operations for the police have increased by $36,000. Again, a lot of that goes with the gasoline. The fire department operations have increased by $72,000, but they were also hoping to bring in $10,000 from the cost recovery program. Then we have public works. They have an increase of $69,000 for operations, and a capital will be $244,000. Non-departmental, we have an increase of $14,000. This is basically general government operations, and capital will be $10,000. $17 is assigned fund balances. Our disaster recovery, as per the ordinance says, we put in, if we have the money available, we put in $200,000 a year. We're putting $200,000 into that, and that'll give us $1,400,000. Capital replacement will go to $763,900, and land meters will go to $182,480. Proposed sanitation fee budget. What am I at? Okay, revenue for that will be $1,543,000. Your expenses are $1,596,000. So the change in net position is actually a negative $53,995. But in saying that, the fund balance is projected to be $2,501,000. This
conference will now be recorded.
19, proposed A-tax. Again, the revenue is $803,000. Expenditures is $433,000. We have transfers to the general fund, to the pier, and to capital projects renourishment of of $371,450, and that gives us a negative in fund balance of $1,275. Our fund balance projection at the end of the year will be $38,950. Now, slide 20 is the resolution to Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee. We had, as you can see, the request for funding, and then to the right of that is the committee approved. And some of the requests would be Champion Autism, Surfside Beach Historical Society, historic signage, Surf Dream. And then for the town, it's police, public works, events, beach renourishment, peer funding, advertising, and marketing. And so that's what's being approved by the committee. And of course, those numbers will be brought to y'all for final approval. It doesn't go anywhere until you guys say it's okay. Proposed hospitality tax budget. And the revenue that's coming, that we expect to come in will be $2,341,000. Expenditures that we expect will be $1,742,200. Transfers, which go to the general fund, to beach renourishment, and to the pier, are $635,000. So the change in the budget is, in the fund balance is negative $36,200. But in saying that, at the end of the year, we were projecting a fund balance of $1,086,000. And then proposed local accommodations tax budget. We have revenue of $476,000. Our expenditures are $402,000, which gives us a change of $73,550. But again, the transfers went to the general fund and went to the pier fund, and our fund balance is projected to be $996,780 at the end of the year. And slide 23, proposed capital projects funds. Our revenues are $302,000. We're going to be spending $480,000. We have transfers of $150,000, which go to beach renourishment and ATAX beach renourishment. And so we will have a negative $28,000 in our fund balance, but the projected fund balance is $1,374,645. Because there is money there if it's needed. And then beach renourishment transfers, basically total renourishment transfers are $1,023,121. So ending balance. Proposed stormwater utility fund. Our revenue for that will be $469,000. We're going to spend $1,478,000, which is a net change of a minus $1,009,000. But at the end of the year, we have a projected balance of $3,155. Proposed pier fund. Our revenue this year will be $259,950 with expenditures of $800,410. Transfers of $610,000. So we have a net change of a positive $69,540. So our projected net position will be $17,192,500. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is basically what the what your budget is. And again, there's a lot of numbers. We want you to take them and study. And our next meeting is on May 24th, and we hope before then, if you have any questions of any of the numbers or any of the things that we're saying, that you'll bring it to us and we can make sure that we answer your questions satisfactorily and then get that information out to all of you also. Because if one has a question, I'm pretty sure everybody has a question. And again, I think it's very important that in January 2023 that we relook at the numbers, because for the last couple of years, we budgeted on a conservative side. Then when we got to January, we've seen that we've had a lot more money than we expected to have. And beginning of the season is being pretty positive, so hopefully it'll happen again. And that is the presentation. Yes, sir.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Your projected fund balances, are they as of July 1st of 2022 or July 1st?
Not projected. It's the end of the year, right?
That's June 30th of 2023,
June 30th, 2023.
the end of this year.
But I wanted you to see that, because when you see a negative and you don't see what we've got, it can be depressing. It can make you think that, we're not managing correctly, but we are. And those numbers can be used in specific areas based on, as long as we're following the law, if needed.
Okay, last October, we discussed implementing a merit raise system that would take approximately 1% of each department's salary budget and set it aside to be used to provide merit raises to the deserving employees.
Yes.
This budget does not include that 1% increase, potential increase for merit raises.
I do, well, I've got a merit raise that I'm going through right now, and I'm not finished going through it because there's some things I'm not 100% sure I agree with. But we can put that in this.
Because if we're setting aside, if we're implementing that merit raise program as it was envisioned by the previous council,
Yes, ma'am.
then, and we were willing to set aside at that time 1% of the budget to be used to allocate whatever merit raises we wanted to allocate to the individual employees. It's not to say that any employee gets 1% of their salary. They get some piece of that pot of money.
Yes, ma'am.
We should be reflecting, and if we're going forward with that, we should be reflecting that as a line item in the budget, or at least included in the salaries, like we've included an increase of 3% COLA.
Yes, ma'am. I agree 100%. And especially now that we've actually started doing evaluations, and that motivates folks. It helps motivate some. Most of our guys won't come.
The other thing I noticed that we had talked about, again, it was sometime last year with the previous council, about getting an overall capital replacement schedule for both police, fire, and public works, so that when we see the budget and it says, we're going to buy a new backhoe, we're going to buy this, we're going to buy that, it's not unexpected because we anticipated that. Are we anywhere closer to consolidating those three documents?
So that was,
Because I know I saw one from John, I believe, talking about his capital replacement program that he has for like the next 5 years.
yeah, his, like vehicles and stuff, his vehicle one is for all of our vehicles. So it's not just his vehicle.
Okay, so what we received from John Adair included.
Correct?
I don't have one.
All
Okay.
right, well,
I'll
I
get it
think
for you.
that'd be worthwhile
Okay.
information to include in a budget package,
Capital.
because we have different capital funds we talk about. We've got capital expenses, where we talk about HVAC and, vehicles, but then we also talk about capital projects, which are, the infrastructure
Yes, ma'am.
stuff. So it gets a little confusing if you don't understand what's in each one of those items
We can get them in there. Yes, ma'am.
and what's coming at us the next time.
Yeah. And it's real important, and we're working on bringing someone in to help us to identify where we're going to be with buildings over the next couple of years. And every building we've got has got to have a maintenance plan built for it, because if we don't, then we end up where we're at now. And I don't want that to happen again. So, yes, ma'am.
We have taken our American Recovery money, 1,000,026 or whatever, and put it over to the side and says we're not going to spend it, except we did spend some money from that for the
Yes,
pay
increase. Yes, sir.
thing. Is that money allocated for anything in this budget?
Yeah, we would like to allocate it towards the buildings, because that was a shock that nobody expected. And so,
Well, I see that when you go down in the hospitality tax, they talk about building for the police, and it's
Yeah.
like 1.5 million or something that's in there. I see the money all around. Has anybody ever knocked it out to find the exact cost? So like a police building, what's it gonna cost to build a police building? Do you know?
yeah, we have to,
So
we're
we're
in the
just sort of
process,
stuffing money
yeah.
away to.
we're in the process of trying to have somebody come in and give us those numbers.
I'm just more worried about, we have that American Recovery money, and if we spend it to this, we're not gonna have it for that. I'm not saying that a rainy day's coming, but I'm just saying that, if we run into problems, which we don't anticipate right now, that money being here is sort of a safe haven for us in case of emergency.
Only to, what is it, 2024? 26, because we have to spend it. And, if you have an emergency need, meaning
Plus, we're
the
getting another
buildings,
1026, right?
yes.
This year.
Is that in this budget?
Identified by 2024 and spent in 2024.
Yeah, and so, right now, we've got money in fund balances that if we needed to pull out for the pier, we could. And I'm not saying we have to, but those are things there. These buildings, this is a lifesaver. And then if we get money from the ride two, which, they're going through some type of court case in reference to some projects, and we got to see what that does. But if we get money for that, that's money that probably needs to go towards these buildings, because nobody knew. And it's not just, as we briefed you, it's not just the mold, it's some of the structural things that have happened over the years where people have fixed things and they've done it wrong, or tried to expand things and didn't do it correctly. We've got these issues and we've got to figure them out. We need to have someone come in, and we need to, first, we got to understand exactly what the whole council want, but then we've got to, if we're going to have, we need a plan. We need to know what we're going to do, where we're going to build. And once we've got that identified, then we can start one piece at a time and get it done right. The goal is to do it without bankrupting the town and without bankrupting our citizens, because that's where our funds come from.
In slide 13, you've got building $700,000.
Yes, sir. That would be American Rescue. Yes,
That's American Rescue.
Bill,
yes, sir.
the cost of living, you got down at 3%. Everything we're hearing this year, they're talking 8%. So why are we doing 3%?
It's what we can afford. The goal was to create a budget without raising taxes, and we do have some fund balances in some places, but as the mayor said, we got to keep some of them up, because if something happens, if we get hit hard on the pier, then we've got to be ready for it.
But if the government comes out and says cost of living is 8%, do we get a vote to say, no, we're not giving our employees 8%?
Well, again, this is our
We get to determine what that is?
Yeah, this is our recommendation to you. If you decide that you don't agree with 3% and you want it to be 8%, then you say that, we put 8% in there, and we see what it will take to make that happen. This is a recommendation. This, you guys have final say. Anything in here you don't like, you'll say, no, we
Yeah,
don't want to do it.
But we don't get the choice of what the COLA adjustment is. That's dictated by what the government issues, is it not? I mean, I don't know about it.
The
You
government
de- you
sets the
determine
amount,
what
but
we
you
do.
decide if you want to get
They-
it or not.
they
You don't
say
have to
what's
get
go-
anything. You
yeah.
can get zero.
Okay.
They tell you how much is going up, but you decide what, you guys control the finances.
Well, I think 3% is very low. Looking at the costs everybody's going through, our employees going through.
And
Yeah, when inflation's going up 15%.
and I will get the correct, I'm not sure what happened. I was up till 3 in the morning with this together. But I will get it put out on our Facebook, our social media is the correct one, so everybody sees it. And I'll get you guys copies of, well, you all got the correct copies.
I agree that 3% is kind of low for the employees on that aspect, but I think there's some stuff in here that we can look at to cut and then to be able to get to 8% or get as close to that as possible.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
And
I like to have, control cards, new this, new that, whatever it may be, but maybe we need to step back and look at that again and maybe.
see, and that's why we do it this way. We give it to you now, we go
Right.
through it, you ask us any questions, you make all the recommendations you want. We put it back together and we show you what we've got. And then you all make the decision. That, I mean, you guys are spot on. That's how it's supposed to work.
Because, the ultimate thing is you think everybody's taking a hit at 8% or cost of living's going up. Cost of living's going up on the residents too.
Yes, sir.
So you got to stop and say, well, we just go get more money from them. That's not the answer.
No, that's not.
Agreed.
That's
Every
not the
time.
answer. So, I mean, we got to maybe trim the budget somewhere else. And I find it amazing in the last 3 years, we've had more money every year than we thought we were ever going to have.
I don't disagree with you. Yes, sir.
That's odd.
That's a good
odd.
budget.
Yeah, but it's just, it's odd.
No, and
It's
what-
odd. It's never worked
yeah.
that way.
what is happening is citizens' personal opinion of being tired and told what to do. And if you're telling them you can't go on vacation and they want to go on vacation, they're going on vacation. And we're being blessed because we do have, I mean, for family type vacations where people want to enjoy and relax, we're second to none, and that word is out. So, I mean, and
Well-
you're seeing people come every year because of that.
It may be, but it's like the unforeseen may happen. And that's something I think we need to be prepared for.
Yeah, and you saw in our fund balances at the end of the year, we've got money in several of those fund balances that if we need money, we've got money. I mean, if, knock on wood, nothing happens and everything keeps going straight with the pier, but if something happens, we've got areas we can go get it if we need to. And you don't want to because we want to manage it. We want to make sure it's going the way it's supposed to go. But, again, you don't want to deplete everything. 8% would be nice. I don't think you have an employee that would argue that point. However, in saying that, we got to see can we take away enough
Right.
stuff so it doesn't raise the millage rate?
Right.
But then, sometimes the cost of service is such, you have to raise the millage rate. You got no choice if you want services. I mean, and I think most citizens, while they don't want to do that, I think if you explain it to them, they might not like it. But as long as they know why you're doing what you're doing, I mean, if you want, suddenly all the citizens decide they want sidewalks throughout the whole town. Well, we can do it, but it's going to cost money. If they want all the power lines underneath, so when the storm comes in, I don't have to worry about it. We can do it, but it's going to cost money. And sometimes you tell them, all right, well, we're going to do a tax increase to do this. They don't like it, but they say, okay. And it's kind of like, when you pay to get on roads, we're going to build this road. We can't afford it, so you got to pay to ride this road until it's paid off. They hate it, but they do.
But I just want us to be considered as residents on the budget.
Yes,
this time
sir.
around.
Agreed. Agreed 100% on that.
I assume this is still a conservative budget
Yes, sir.
because Michael brought up that with the gas tax or gas going up, that people that used to come here may not come here. We may not have the summer that we've had in the last 2 years. We've been blessed because people, because of COVID, wanted to be together instead of in a hotel. So we did a lot better in, say, Myrtle Beach. But that doesn't mean that they're going to continue to come.
Yes. And you were right. And that's one of the reasons that we've got some of those fund balances where they're at. I mean, you never know. The beginning of this year has been great. I mean, it's like they haven't raised the gas prices. But will that keep going on? You know, if you listen to the people in Washington, D.C., they're going to say, no, everyone's going to go home and sit in the house and watch TV. But we're not seeing that. They're saying that, but we're not seeing that. And the last, as you said, 3 years, they've been saying that thing over and over again, but Surfside Beach is not seeing that.
Well, our residents, our town is the same size it was 3 years ago. Our town's the same size it was 4 years ago, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. They ain't got no bigger. So if the budget goes up, and there ain't no more residents and there ain't no more town, it's gonna fall on the residents to start paying the bill.
Yeah.
More and more.
And
So
some of that,
I'm looking at, if the town ain't getting no bigger, then why is everything else constantly getting bigger? So you gotta stop somewhere along the line and say, well, I know you got cost of living going up, but you still got how many employees we have, how many backhoes, how much this, how many equipment do we have?
I think,
What's
yeah.
our services we're providing? What services are we providing?
Mhm.
And where do we go with our services? That's all I'm saying. Just stop and look at it and say, do we need to be going over here? Do we need to be doing this over here?
I'll get you that information. It's gonna take a little while to put this together, but we can do it. It's just right now.
Well, it's like,
a lot of stuff.
I mean, our fire department, we need the employees. We need them. I agree with that. But then I've asked the question before, why do we, under a mutual agreement, why do we keep going way outside? I understand to a certain, to help, but not to be first responder.
And agree, we're doing a new one, and the goal of mutual aid is we want to make sure that we have the support we need. And then the other thing I'm going to be working with the chief is I want to look at ISO 1. I don't know that it's great for the town to be in ISO 1. We got bragging rights, but I don't know if that helps us any better than ISO 3. And that's something we have to talk about, because if you're in ISO 3, then do you need a ladder truck? You know, when we have a ladder truck, how old is our ladder truck? It's 11 years old. How many miles does it have on it?
Less than 10,000.
So less than 1,000, and half of those, how many times have we had fires in here at a multi-story high that we need a ladder truck? Most of that is going out of town. See, I understand what you're saying, and we are discussing it, and we're trying to figure it out. It's just up to now. I didn't have anyone that understood it as well as he does, and now that we've got him and we're going through it, we're gonna figure it out, because do we need that big ladder truck? Maybe we need to downsize, saving some money that way. But we gotta figure that out.
Well, I would just caution going off to do additional work until you get some kind of consolidated comments from council.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, because you may get some specific comments that solve some of the general knee-jerk responses or reactions to what's been presented. I think we need a more thoughtful process before we just jump into new science projects about, you know, I'm agreeing with Michael that we need to take a hard look at where we're spending our money and, you know, prioritize what's important. But let's not knee-jerk into 5 different directions. Let's consolidate some real thoughtful evaluation of what
Yes,
we've been
ma'am.
presented, and then provide, you know, that direction for how we're going to revise it for the ultimate approval in March, or in May, because we've only got a month. We don't have time to do 5 different science projects. We need to focus our efforts on what modifications are really important to the budget.
Yes, ma'am. I agree 100%. This is your budget. You control it. And, you know, our goal is, I don't want to give you a blank sheet of paper and say, have fun. What I want to do is, I've got professionals that have been doing their jobs for a lot of years. You know, if you look down at the folks that were a part of this budget, you probably got 200 years of experience. And so we've done that, and Now it's, as Councilwoman, or excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem Keaton just said, now it's, y'all need to look and ask any questions you want. And some of this stuff that you've asked for are, those are good things that we can start working on. But when I say working, not putting it in, just having it
Yeah.
ready. So if you ask questions or you have recommendations. But this is your budget. I mean, all we've done is we've given you a balanced budget that will get us through, but it's your budget, and once, you guys decide where you want to make the changes, we'll be able to tell you how it's going to affect, and we'll make it happen. Yeah. The good thing about it is we all want the same thing. We want what's best for this town.
Well,
Yes, sir.
our taxes from buildings are going to go up because the value of the buildings have gone up.
Yes, sir.
We don't want to mess with the millage rate. So is there any other funds? And I think Diana mentioned 3, and we haven't changed one in like 10 years.
We have some fees. We have a new fee coming in from the fire department that's in here. And have we raised our fees and the other stuff? Yeah, but that's something we can look at, and maybe when we meet again, give you an update on what we think about the fees. The issue is you get used to doing the same fee over and over again, but maybe when it started, we were making something off it. Maybe now we're balanced, or maybe now we're losing. I don't know. We'll double check fees.
Okay, that's,
Yes, sir.
it seemed like she mentioned one that was,
You know what? Well,
All right, say, ask your question.
you said
Okay.
3 fees?
at one point you said we had three sources of income, and one of them hadn't been changed in 10 years.
I was probably building permit. There's the building that's the problem.
Or I was thinking it was trash.
Well, that doesn't affect general fund. See, the problem, a lot of the things you're talking about, you could say change things, but it doesn't really change general fund. General fund is where the people are paid for.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
sanitation is an enterprise fund. It's like a business within the town, and we're supposed to pay, so it pays for itself, and you have a little bit in reserve, so we're not supposed to make piles of money on it, if you understand, because then it just sits in a bank that we can't use.
Well, and I think we have to look at, we do have significant reserves where we are, statutorily required to have a certain level of reserves as the town. But if you look at our fund balances year over year, they're usually very healthy fund balances.
Yes, ma'am.
So, maybe we need to look at, to Michael's point, I agree, we need to plan for the rainy day, and it never hurts to have more in reserves. But maybe we're just, for lack of a better word, hoarding the money for no real risk purpose. What is the risk evaluation that says, the government says we need, 2 months in reserve, 2 months of expenses in reserve? Maybe a conservative risk says we maintain 4, but right now, if you look across all funds, we've got, and I'm making it up, 8 or 10. Well, maybe some of that fund balance can be used to offset growing costs. And again, it's more, we've been presented information, it's time to really evaluate what goes behind it and come up with some of these, recommendations that maybe we can help our employees be successful, help our businesses be successful while not growing our costs, because that just promotes our revenue too. So I think it's just a matter that I think there's opportunities.
Yes, ma'am.
I think we can do things a little bit different than we always have, and maybe just take a more critical eye on certain components. But again, without going through the details of what we've been provided, which is great, I think,
Yeah.
surmising what may be alternatives is a little premature.
As my dad said, different is not bad, it's just different and you learn from it.
Mhm.
Did you have something to say, Bettina?
Ms. Keating, the ordinance says we have to have 4 months reserved, so we're following what you're
You have
Okay.
dictated for us.
Okay,
So we
okay.
can't
But
defer
that's
that.
just the general fund,
Yeah.
correct? That's not all the other funds.
That's why getting back what Cindy said, the aspect of the wish list is what I call it. But everybody'd like to have, you know, new ladder truck or new some other truck or, you know, 2 or 3 backhoes for John, and maybe 3 or 4 patrol cars for Kenny, and maybe a new building for Kenny, and oh, well, somebody's got to stop and say, well, again, how big is the town? How big is the town growing? Well, it ain't gonna grow. It's the same size as then. It ain't getting no bigger.
Well, again, that's why we need the capital replacement
Yeah.
schedule.
You need a schedule going by that, but then again, you need to look at what you're buying.
Yeah, and
Do we need that?
Yeah.
That big fire truck you mentioned a minute ago?
Yeah, we don't.
Do we don't? Okay, then that's a savings. If we look at, John needs a backhoe. Well, does he need the biggest backhoe out there? Not necessarily. Okay. Well, Kenny needs a new patrol car. Does he need the big SUV, or does he need the Crown Vic or the Taurus with the, you know, police package and all this fancy 150 miles an hour? Maybe not. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Just scale it back to where it fits our little town.
Yeah, and our vehicles and our equipment is mostly for replacing. It's not for increasing the size of the, of what we have. But yes, but you're right. I mean,
The value of it.
do we keep it another year and because it's I get what you're saying. Yes,
Do
sir.
we buy the $100,000 backhoe, or do we buy the $50,000 backhoe? If one will work and it does the job, that's fine. If it don't do the job, then yes, you gotta have it. But
Yes.
I'm just looking at, do we need all the stuff that we constantly buy? Do we need towards maybe a building, towards doing some other stuff?
Yes, sir.
That's all I'm saying.
Gotcha.
So we're not just doing it to do it. We're scared we're gonna lose it.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Bill, when is the county going to do a reassessment of the cost of the houses? They do.
8 years, 8 more years.
It's not
It's every
10.
10.
No, it's not 10.
No, it's every 5.
Every 5?
Was it 2 years ago they did it? Yeah, they did it before I got here.
Okay, I just want to know,
Okay. 2 to 3, we got a little time.
Yeah.
because, you know, we got, house prices have really gone up.
Oh, they gonna-
And, but we say we aren't growing, but we got more building going on in the town than we ever had. So that brings more revenue.
And then it comes back to the economic development side on 17. And I know Mayor Pro Tem Keating is working with the business committees and stuff, but we're hoping that goes in the right direction. We've had retail experts come in and they've talked about it being very positive. So these are things that in the middle of everything we're doing with a focus on the pier first, because I don't want to do anything that's going to slow it down or make it so we can't do it. You know, we're staying on top of that, and I'm lucky you're jumping all over that, so make it life a little easier. Well, I thank you for your time. We will wait for your input. We will start working on some of the stuff that you've asked, just if nothing else, to have information for you. This is a lot. Take your time. If you have any questions, Diana or myself, we will meet with you and we will make it happen. And
Did we as a group give them a target on the cost of living? We think 3% is too low. It's say 5%. Because what goes up is going to come down. It's not, gas isn't always going to be $3.50.
Well, just my opinion, my personal opinion is that I want to look at what impact does that have on the budget and where are opportunities to, you know, absorb that increase,
Somewhere else.
you know, before deciding, because if we've got some line items that have enough, and I'll just call it, you know, reserve in it, that we can absorb a 3% or a 4% increase or 5% increase, to put the 8% in COLA under salaries, along with the 1% merit under salaries, then I want to look at what does that do to everything else? How much more money do we have to make up before I'm willing to say, I agree with a 5 or a 2 or a, whatever. I want to look at. the
Do we
impact.
not have to consider too, these 4 firefighters that we're considering hiring? Do we not have to look at a long-term budget to where we're going to get that money?
Yes,
How
sir.
it's going to come in to pay these people if we do get them? Or if we decide that we want to do that, are they some way that we're going to look at that? Because if you go to increase in salaries, if we bring 4 more people in, that's 4 more salaries that you got to look at the increase, how much increase you're doing now, let alone 4 years down the road. But that's something that I think that as a whole, we need to look at and make sure that
Yes, sir.
we're starting a budget or look at it anyway.
Who's speaking?
The long-term future of paying for these people. Because if we approve these, if we get them and approve them, we're going to have something on the long term to pay them.
Right.
This town, and as you say, the town ain't getting no bigger,
No.
but we are expanding because we're getting more families here. These 4 houses we built, we're getting people here, so we're going to have these people. We might have to have another police person before it's over with. But we got to consider that in when we start talking about budget wise.
You're getting more houses, but in what Diana said before, you get primary resident versus second home buyer. That's very negative for our overall growth. Because
Yeah.
compared to 6% versus 4%, and that's a big difference.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you see that in the one slide where
yeah,
the 4% people are donating what, 300,000 or something? 6% people are donating 2.5 million.
right.
So,
That's
that's,
Then you
second
turn
home
around and
rental
look at the
properties.
businesses, our business, which we need, is
Yeah.
producing tremendous amount of money for this
well,
town.
there's
That's,
the property that the businesses
Yes.
are in that
Property.
6%.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So-
will tell you this, when I moved into my house, it was like 5 months into the year. And at the end of the year, I got like $1,800 back. That was the difference between the 4 and 6%.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know price of your house, and that was a big chunk of change because I had to pay the 6% because that's how the taxes was to the end of the year. So you're correct. That's a lot of money. You need to have done that?
Mhm.
Yeah, I still do it. Big ways.
But again, I thank you for your time. We look forward to hearing from you. Any questions that you have. And if you feel the need that you need all of us to get together before the May 1 just to talk about things, let us know. We'll make that happen. And I'll give it back to you,
Well,
sir.
thank you for your presentation. I have a lot to think about. With that, I'd like to take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adjourn the workshop.
All those in favor?
For a minute. I don't know what